One.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Grassroots podcast, where we dig deep to reach high. We are LIVE, and it's always progress through action. I am your co-host, Peyron Baxter.
And I am your co host, Ram Sandoval.
Rom always digging into the technology, folks. So if you see him drifting off, it's not because he doesn't care about you, he doesn't want to talk to you. He's just our IT guy. He is our guy in the chair. Like if you're watching an action movie, I'm the guy running in the streets. Rom's the guy like I got the screens up, turn left, turn right, enhance. That's why he may not be staring at the camera, but we're so happy for him. But folks, it has been a week. It has been a week since the last time we talked. It has been a week, and it's been only 3 days. Isn't that crazy, Rom?
Yeah, it's only been 3 days. How was your weekend?
Uh, I mean, it's a little rainy, but we'll be all right. My son's eye swelled up yesterday. It was crazy. Like, I think he touched something in the backyard and he rubbed his eye one time, then the whole thing like swelled up like a grapefruit. His eye became blood red, and we're like, oh shit.
Oh
But
wow.
he's fine now. He's fine now. I was like, see, stop touching shit. But kids. What
Yeah.
about you?
No, good weekend. Went bike riding with the girls this afternoon and
Ah,
did some.
outdoorsman.
I did a little 30-minute meditation with Indivisible today on Zoom, which I don't give
A
myself
30-minute
time.
meditation?
Yeah, I don't give myself time to meditate. I know I'm supposed to, but it helped.
Yeah.
I was like wound
No,
up,
no
like
question.
stressed out, and it was helpful. That type of thing is
Yeah,
necessary. Those folks.
absolutely.
I bring them up a lot. I'm wearing a shirt. I bring them up a lot.
I mean,
Uh,
you repping the squad. I get you. I get you, dog.
but look, when we last talked on Thursday was
Hmm.
the eve of the potential shutdown, and there was no
We
shutdown.
averted it. We will win.
So Schumer, Thursday when we went into that, I think before we went into our show that night, he was saying that he was not going to vote for it, and I think during our show, he started to crack or show that he was cracking, and by Friday, him
He
and 10,
cracked.
10 other Democrats or 9 other
Hmm.
Democrats went
Hmm.
ahead and voted yes on the cloture and went ahead and basically gave Republicans everything they wanted, and Trump everything
I
they
mean,
wanted.
bipartisanship, baby, bipartisanship.
And so that was that was like the one chance for leverage. That was the one chance. I mean, just could have even gave some demands, something to say, hey, open up a congressional hearing on Doge. Did some uh, make sure that you're going to continue to fund Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. It was just nothing. So it was utterly embarrassing to me, and to a lot of Democrats, both from what I understand on the left and even in the centrists, and we're kind of in this bubble, but even outside the bubble, it seems that there was a lot of negative reaction, including, and I bring this up because Indivisible went out and put a statement, and they basically said
That's
Senator
right.
Chuck Schumer needs to resign. So I continue to. I just learned about Indivisible last year, and I continue to like what they do and what they say. I think they're leading the way. They were out there. We're doing the Tesla. You know,
Tesla. We're gonna talk about that later. But Teslers.
so yeah, again, I'm a big fan of the things they're doing, and they had a webinar earlier this week. I wasn't listening, but how to prepare for protests, how to protest, and I think they even kind of prep people if you get in trouble, get arrested, things like that. So good trouble, what I call it.
Well, hey, at least you can call your senators. All right, so folks, we have a our guest coming in today. He is the founder of Change for Monroe. This guy is an activist. This guy is all over the place. I've seen him multiple at multiple events, whether it be the what's the walk called that we did? It was the
Uncle.
Hunger Walk, Hunger Walk. I've seen him at Pride for Union County. I mean, countless times. He's at city council meetings. He's at board of education meetings. I'm sure it's just things of that nature. Either way, we're gonna introduce him now. Steven Stegall, not Steve Seagal, not Steven Seagal, not the
Yeah,
actor, but we have Steven Stegall
you got to hit that
joining
T,
us
man. You
tonight.
got to
You
hit
gotta get
that
that
T.
T in there,
Yeah,
brother. What's up,
yeah.
man?
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Oh, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
You were definitely one of our top guests we wanted to get on, but we were just
Oh,
kind of
wow.
still thinking of this thing, because you are doing so much work locally, and sometimes we do. Our guests are more statewide,
Yes.
but you can give us
Yeah.
a breakdown, kind
I've
of,
noticed.
of what you guys are doing locally and the impacts you guys are having, and then of course. We just kind of want to pick your brain and make you nervous. He's been nervous about this interview, folks. I don't know why, but
Well, I mean, this is officially like my first podcast ever. Like this, so
this,
you guys are, you guys, like, I'm gonna just get all my nervousness,
get it
from you
out.
guys. So the
Get it
next one will
out.
be fine. So
All right. You'd
yeah,
be a lot better then. Well,
yeah,
why was
yeah,
like
yeah,
that here?
yeah.
Well, no, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, brother.
Of course, yeah,
Um,
anytime.
yeah, so Steve, or Steven, I need you guys to go by Steven. Steven,
Either way,
uh,
yeah, we're
a-
good.
as we get introduced to you, just kind of give us a little bit of your background, a little bit of background of, change from Monroe, what's its purpose, its mission,
Sure.
and we'll start there.
Yeah, yeah. So a little bit on me, man. I you introduced me as an activist, and honestly, I don't really consider myself that because
Okay, my bad.
no, it's totally fine because a lot of people do consider me an activist at this point, and at some point, I probably am going to have to, just own up to it.
Yeah.
But up until about maybe a year and a half ago, well, probably about a year ago, it was literally when our illustrious mayor won his election. Man, I was
Mayor coin flip.
yes, there you go. I was in the process of becoming like a professional hermit. Like I had, like I've always been at least politically astute. Like I've always paid attention, but I've never really considered myself, somebody who needed to get involved or anything like that, because it just always seemed like kind of just not really like somebody else's problem, but definitely somebody else had that. Somebody like some of your other guests. Like
Right,
I am
right.
by far the least qualified guest that you have had here, I promise you. But I would just happen to be the person to kind of like raise my hand, and everybody else was like, "Hey,
Which makes you the most qualified guest, actually.
hey, man, that seems to be what everybody's looking for right now.
Right.
Somebody, and again, I'm not saying I'm that guy, but everybody's kind of like, the mantra right now is like, we don't need to find our leaders will find us.
That's
And
right.
we're all kind of like waiting on that person to kind of like stick their head up and just kind of like grab that flag and run with it. And so locally, that just kind of happened to be me. But I'm a contractor. I'm a literally like I was up on a roof replacing shingles earlier today for a client that had a roof leak, and so
A top elite white
yeah,
glove.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm at the height of my game. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But no, like so, when you guys have people that are in the Democratic Party, and a lot of these like young rising stars and stuff like that, I am just in awe of these people because I am I don't have any like above K through 12 education. I just enjoy reading and have always just tried to stay abreast of what's kind of going on.
Right.
And so that's about it. But yeah, literally, like I swing a hammer for a living, and like but I just happened to in Monroe again happened to stuck my hand up, and luckily a few of my friends and their friends decided that I was the guy that was going to take control, but or at
That's
least
right.
lead the group at least. And but yeah, just for change from Monroe, going back to Mayor Cornflip, I was literally like building a treehouse for some friends of mine for their business, and I can remember watching that all go down on a Facebook live stream, and just man, I was just pissed. I was fucking angry, and I can cuss, right? I forgot about
Yeah. Feel
okay,
free.
yeah. But and, and
You were
part of
fucking
that
pissed.
really,
Yes, start there.
yeah, yeah. But part of that was really because like when I saw this dude like coming up through the campaign, he was putting out these like just pandering like videos about I'm a
Oh,
father and a Christian, and I'm like,
and my
and it's
principles
like
guide me. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like why does
Oh,
that?
there he is.
Yeah, there he is. And I'm like,
The handsome stallion himself.
yeah, and so personally, I'm like, yeah, that's great, but why does that qualify you to run a
Right.
city?
Right.
And and it doesn't at this point nowadays. I mean, really, as long as you're, and he did the same thing I did. He just stuck his head up, and everybody was willing to follow him.
Right.
but you know, so again, my frustration and my with myself for not, you know, commenting on his videos. Like I literally would like go to some of his videos and like have some kind of screed typed out and just get, you know, erase it. You know what I mean? And not that I felt like it would have done anything really, but at least it would have made, you know, feel like I was doing something, you know. Yeah. But anyway, so immediately when he won that, man, I took to Facebook and I was like, created a Facebook group. I picked the first name that popped in my head, which was Change from Monroe. And then I started like going to some of these like what's up pages and really just like inviting some of the more like, you know, kind of raucous and brave people in there who were just in there just like mucking it up with some of these the opposition, let's just call them that. And I was like, hey, I'm pissed off, you're pissed off, you want to go crash city council meetings and get a beer? And
there you go.
Within like, I don't know, like 4 days, we had over 200 people in the group.
Wow.
And it was just literally like, I mean, you don't get any more grassroots than that.
You don't, man.
And so I was like, I remember, you know, watching the number rise on the Facebook page, and I kept showing my wife, I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, you know, like, okay, I've got them here. What do I do? And so I literally just started like, you know, telling everybody, hey, just post memes, you know, and I started just like putting on there like rants about, you know, like, you know, things that I really just felt needed to be said in, you know, in our political climate, whatever you want to call it. Like one of the things that just drives me crazy is like both siderism. That to me is like the biggest red herring. And it just, you know, you know, it's a way to kind of like turn off conversation when you can just say, well, I mean, you know, Joe Biden did this terrible thing. Well, you know, Trump did this terrible thing too. So they just can't.
So it's all the same.
Yeah. And
you know, it's also lazy.
It's just completely lazy. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you said that because it is. And that's what politics has become nowadays. It's just lazy. And people just want to be fed certain information and they want to. Now, it really doesn't matter what they say. It's just that they've got something to say. You know what I mean? Because like you could tell them like, you know, they could say one thing today and they could literally say the very opposite thing the next day. And as long as they've got some kind of argument to like, you know, kind of put in your face, you know, it doesn't really matter. And that's one reason why, like, you know, nowadays, you know, like it's gotten to the point now where like arguing with people on Facebook is just, to me, is just useless. It's just a waste of energy and time. And you can totally put your time. Like I would rather like, you know, file down my own teeth or something, you know, like just something else, like you
swallow a knife.
Else. Yeah, I mean, just something rather than, you know, just argue with. And don't get me wrong, I still give into it every once in a while.
No, you're human, and I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm not going back and forth in these comments. And I find myself writing like paragraph 3. Let me tell you also why. You know, so I'm with you on that. But you know, I think what you offer in, you know, hearing that story of the inception of Change from Monroe is actually kind of what we do need on a grander scale, right? Where people
very much
like. Where they feel like they have an outlet and like-minded people are around them. You know, there's this idea of collective ignorance, right? Where especially here in Union County, where we all live, is that folks feel like, well, I'm progressive, but and I can't go, you know, 3 houses down without seeing a Trump flag, take America back. There used to be a guy in my neighborhood, an old gentleman, and he would walk around with this giant Confederate flag, you know, like bomber jacket, like every day. So like, I mean, so there's a level like, is it just me here? But I think when we start to understand that there are a lot of us here, and we may not be outnumbered, but there is a large contingent of us. So that collective
it's a personality type too. You know what I mean? Like that. There's a personality type that you know, wants to wear that like kind of you know, that wants to wear that in your face politics literally on their back. Or on their head.
They have
to.
I mean? They have to. Right.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, as much as they want to, like, you know, kind of rail about identity politics, like they
100% identity politics. 100%.
Get out of here. You know, so that's why. Again, those are empty critiques to me. So, but okay, so with Change from Monroe, you know, we started out like a, you know, just any other, you know, type of just like, you know, Facebook page. It was like really no rules. People just post whatever they want. I encouraged it because I wanted
it out.
I wanted that community. Yeah, exactly. Let's get it out. And you know, just all like just, you know, kind of just yell at each other and you know, it was literally like screaming at the sky. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we organized our very first meetup at East Franks in downtown.
Love East Franks.
yeah, please, go give those folks some love because they are at the epicenter of this turmoil that's going in Monroe right now. And if you're gonna, anybody within earshot, please just go in, get some food, grab a beer on tap, grab
great food, great food, folks. Like
yeah.
I'm saying that, like I'm telling y'all from the black side, like it's absolutely bomb food. I don't usually give establishment like I don't know the food ain't I was about to order it today before our show, but I was like I didn't have time, so I went and got some Japanese food. But I literally love East Frank's bomb ass food. My wife loves their Sunday chicken biscuit, hot honey chicken.
Oh man, isn't that good?
So good. So yes,
I met Stephen last month at the city council, Monroe City Council meeting, and he said, "Hey, you want to get a beer and some food?" And we went over to East Frank's, and Payron, you had told me about it a few weeks before that. And I got myself a Philly cheesesteak because it was the day after Philly won the Super Bowl. So I'm like, that was good. And then I bought my wife home some ramen, which she loved. So it's a cool little spot. Actually,
very
I dig
cool.
it a lot.
And I think I told you, Rom, that was like, so I grew up in Monroe, man. I'm a lifelong citizen. I'll be here for the rest of my life. I will die in this place. I love this place.
There you go.
That's one reason why this, I'm so passionate about this because, I literally I used to do kick flips off of the city hall steps. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this dude's trying to thinks he's going to run me out of town. Yeah, you can fuck right off, dude. I'm gonna fight you to my last breath, dude. But anyway, that East Frank's actually was the toy store where I used to go buy Transformers and stuff. Back in the day, man. I think I told Ron about that. Yeah.
That's
but
cool.
yeah, so so I've seen this place through so many stages of inactivity and just almost neglect, really. And now it over the last probably 4 to 5 years, we've had some really nice we've had some people who are willing to invest in our town, in our city, and I'd hate to see something like what we're going through right now to really kind of derail that.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll jump in there because I know, Robert Burns, he's clearly Mayor Coinflip. If you guys were not following along with that bouncing ball, but if you could just give us kind of highlights some of the things that he's been implementing, some of the things that he's been doing that is making him so divisive, that is making him so terrible for Monroe. As you just said, Monroe's been going through all these ebbs and flows and changes and progression and all that. Just give us a kind of a rundown. There you go. I mean, clearly this guy won by he has a mandate. He has a mandate on the screen right now. Rom has the election results from his election win.
I want to draw your attention while you've got that up there. Sorry to interrupt, man, but while you got that up there, I want to draw attention to that number in the very bottom left, that 14.4 right there. You know what I'm saying? That is our main goal, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But just take note of that right there, 14.4%. All right.
Yeah, I mean, for Monroe, I was looking at Monroe. Well,
what is that?
But that's for the county. But then I was looking at doing some number crunching before this, and I think
it's actually 17%.
It was more the population of Monroe is 35,000, and you got about 3,500 votes, so it's about roughly 10%.
It's awful. That to me is abysmal.
And he won with 970 votes. And with a coin flip, he won with a coin flip.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And what's worse is I know of probably 3 people that threw their vote away.
Wow.
Seriously, it's
they're like I'm not voting or
no, well, just voting for okay, if you look at the bottom, that Ashley Casanova person.
Oh, she was a nutball.
Man, come on, dude.
She was a nutball. Just a really quick story about her. I went to a town hall where I was the only one in the audience. I was the only one in the audience, and it was Burns. It was another guy. I think was it
Bob Yanachek, maybe.
No, well, he wasn't there. No, it wasn't him.
Okay.
It might be. I think Gary Anderson was there.
Gary, yeah.
And then what's he's opened the barbershop next to
Fred Jones.
Mike Jones.
Mike
how am I gonna forget Mike Jones? Who? Mike Jones.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Great guy, by the way.
And it was wild because she came late, and it was around this time. It was nighttime, and we're
probably in a tube top.
It was damn near, and we were in this again. Mind you, I'm the only one in the audience, and I was going because the Democratic Party just want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought wanted to be more people there. So this thing's been going on for like 30 minutes. We hear a rap on the glass, and it's pitch black outside.
Is this her?
And I'm like, what the? Everyone's like, what the fuck is going on?
Is this her?
And then you look, and then that's her.
Okay.
And then we look, and all you see is the blonde hair. And then everybody's like, okay, come around.
Yeah.
So she comes in, and then she starts espousing the most like Twitter comments type of a personality. She's like, I'm suing Joe Biden, and I'm suing Barack Obama, and I'm suing all. And it's like, yo, this motherfucker crazy as shit. And the fact that she got
she's
how many
not much different than Bernie.
Eight,
I mean, this dude, like that dude has got like a huge, like ego, and he just thinks he's like, best buds with JD Vance and Trump. Already.
Trump, that's his orange guy. Yeah, but tell us a little bit about Burns, and tell us like what he's been doing.
So really, what kind of like propelled him into or out of obscurity, I should say. Well, one, don't get me wrong, like his videos of him like proclaiming his Christian faith and all this other stuff like that really obviously appeals to a certain element.
I mean, he is a Christian nationalist, no question.
Well, so he has never publicly like stated that I know.
You don't have to state that to be a Christian nationalist.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not questioning it by any means, but he has agreed with like other people who have said, hey, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a Christian nationalist. And he just like, I forget exactly what it was. This is fine. Yeah, Christian nationalism is, why should we run away from that moniker, basically? And so
all the hallmarks of Christian nationalism, he checks off.
Oh, dude, yeah, and gleefully right. So. And so, but again, what plucked him out of obscurity throughout that whole race was the fact that he was like, and he'll deny this to his death, I'm sure.
Of course,
he was
videotaping.
So at a Pride event, he was videotaping trans women going in and out of, attempting to go and just literally use a bathroom.
That's right.
And them being stopped by other activists that he kind of like glommed onto in order to make a name for himself. Like he is propelled into like the position he's in by the same tactics that these people use to just like embarrass or demonize like the trans community.
I mean, just like Jesus would do.
I mean, of course.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, please don't get me started on that. So that, and then like he. What's some other of his greatest hits? He would put out a proclamation about like the anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But he also, he made up for that by putting out a proclamation about Juneteenth, and hey, I did both sides. Everything's fine. Then also, he's made some pretty off-color comments, to a local trans activists, and they have, man, I'll just say her name, Kara Murphy. I won't go into it too much. I love Kara Murphy to death. She is probably the bravest person that I know, and I don't say that loosely. I mean, she is.
Yep, no question.
Yeah, and you guys, I think, are familiar with her.
Yep.
But she was literally the first person that I approached to join Change for Monroe. And like when I was looking through comments, I specifically targeted her to join the group because we needed some outspoken people that were like fearless, like
because that's who he was. I mean, my wife went to a play at the Dowd, and he was outside. He was outside with the picketers. He is a modern day segregationist. But the thing is, if you don't understand the history of segregation, it'll seem, again, we talked earlier before we started recording about hyper-normalization. Well, if everybody's saying these people that we don't know, since there's a small amount of trans people, a small amount of drag performers, a lot of people don't know those people, so it's easy for them to become the other. But those of us who have had a history, it's in our DNA of being the other, we could recognize that language. We could recognize that power. We could recognize that George Wallace type mentality of a political leader saying these people are our enemies. These people need to be outcast and kicked out of society. And it's
like danger to our white women.
They are always. It's always the danger to the women. But also, these are the same people saying that Andrew Tate should come back to the States, and Robert Morris should be Donald Trump's pastoral advisor. So like this is what we're dealing with here locally. And again,
Yeah.
the reason I have no qualms in saying this man is a white Christian nationalist is because he
Yeah.
is a white Christian nationalist. Just, again, you don't ever see someone walk around like, I'm a racist. I'm a
Right.
racist
Yeah. They're
saying
not. Yeah.
racist things.
Right.
I am a sexist. I am a. They say the other things, and then
Yeah.
they get to have that plausible deniability. Now we on the other side of those people have to have a little bit of backbone and be like, well, yeah, because if you're not that thing, you would not say those things. You would not do those things. As James Baldwin says, I can't trust what you say because I see what you do. And
Yeah.
Robert
Yeah.
Burns
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
fantastic
I
example
can
of that.
only. Yeah. I can only see what you do. Right. Yeah. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this guy
So
he's bad news bears.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So it's. I'm glad you brought up the Dow because I can't believe I didn't like just lead off of that. But that is, he did well. I don't know that he necessarily organized the
A willful
protest,
participant.
but he was definitely a willful participant. So, and actually, the very first time that I addressed the council was me, and I'm glad you brought up segregation too, because that's what I referenced. Okay, so in the Dowd at the time, while they were doing all this, while they were protesting outside, and the Pride group was having their event inside, there was a local artist, Ryan Curitan, I believe, and he had a lot of like his artwork up there that was like kind of like a mix between like painting and wood carving and stuff. Beautiful stuff. If you just look it up at some point, it's awesome stuff. One of the a few of the paintings or like wood carving exhibits in there was Robert Williams standing there with a gun.
That's right.
Local hero.
Local hero.
National
hero, but
yeah,
local born.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I forget there was one other one. Maybe it was Malcolm X, but definitely it was like Muhammad Ali. And my address to the council is like, hey, you have people portrayed in the Dow, like prominently, and you're putting them on display for everybody in the community to come and see. Civil rights leaders who fought against segregation, like violent segregation within Monroe. That's the history of Monroe. Like, and then on the outside of the Dow, Robert Burns is out there fighting for resegregation of another community, of another marginalized community. And I will bring up that me using that language did receive some pushback within our group because, and I honestly, I would put this to you. I mean, if like, they felt like I was hijacking that word and almost like co-opting it where, and really just kind of like trivializing it, you know what I mean? And like, and like, I personally, I could understand what they mean by that. And like, this is not like, a white woman, cooking Chinese food,
right.
You know what I mean? It's not like
appropriating. Right. That's not that.
But it is like, I don't know of another term to describe.
There isn't
that.
one. There isn't one.
And not only that, but the power that conveys. I mean, again, tell me, another like politically correct term that you would like me to use. Random detractor to that term.
Right.
That really that convey that same message. You know what I mean? So again, like that was my first address to the council was really just pointing out that like dichotomy and that hypocrisy that they were willing to just ignore exactly what they were doing while also celebrating this powerful figure who was demonized by our local government through many other things. I've got some other stuff I could say about Robert Williams too, but yeah, that was but yeah, it was very like that dichotomy to me was very stark. And I think that I kind of got through to some of the council members, but honestly, I'm not really sure if they're ever listening to me all the way through. So
so I was gonna say one of the first times I caught wind of the mayor, I wasn't here for the mayoral election 2023, but I saw his Twitter and he had posted something about Anderson Clayton breaking the law by posting basically. So he's advocating the law, but what I saw was that somebody was in his comments section and he was like pointing out to the mayor, hey, this is against the law, Anderson Clayton's breaking the law. So he followed up with like the whole section of the law, basically because she posted know your rights. This is what she posted. And I'm like, okay. And then I started going through this guy's
that,
page, and he's like, yeah, we're going after her. We're going after anyone posting or telling people they know their rights. I'm like, this guy. That's when I realized this guy's a nut. And then
yeah,
even recently, he was basically saying that these voters came out of nowhere for Allison Riggs.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Dude, this
And,
guy's a conspiracy theorist of the
yeah.
worst
So
kind.
this,
I mean,
So to me, he's just kind of he's highly unqualified.
yeah,
And I know, like, at some point tonight, we'll maybe touch on some of the things going on in Monroe with the DEI
yeah.
and
And
the
notably,
Mhm.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
No,
finish
go
your
ahead. Go
thought.
ahead.
Well, notably, that is from Twitter. Like he says that he's the same person all the time. He's literally told me this to my face. But if you'll notice, his Facebook page is so much different than his Twitter
So much
page. He will
different.
not post all his like craziness onto Facebook because he's got a certain persona he's trying to craft within Monroe on that Facebook page. But on his Twitter page, I mean, all bets are off, my man. I mean, it's like it's demonizing gay. There was a gay couple that were two men that were literally holding their child for the first time, and he was like, just how sick and disgusting this is. You know what I mean? That type thing. And granted, he's going to get those followers, he's going to get those likes and stuff like that. And
Oh, yeah, he's a
but
bigot. He's auditioning
of the worst,
for
yeah,
MAGA Trump.
yeah,
He's a MAGA cheerleader. He's a bigot.
yeah,
Like, it's pretty
yeah,
bad. And so when you all uh, I want to see him out of this seat in Monroe. I would love
ooh, man, that's our goal.
to help on this.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. Really, I mean, this guy is kind of the I don't want to
The
replace
worst of
him
the
with
worst.
with another MAGA bigot, but
yeah.
there's definitely. I
Well,
mean,
But
he
but
spends.
you got to tone it down a notch. I mean, somebody got to tone it. I mean, damn.
right, yeah,
Like
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't need this shit. Like, oh look,
yeah. At
I'll
this
take a
point,
fucking Mitt Romney, but this
yeah,
shit
dude,
here,
at this
like
point,
this is crazy.
Yeah.
removing him is our main. I don't mind saying this, but removing
Yeah,
him
yeah,
is our number one priority within Change from Monroe right now. Now we've got other goals and things like that
for sure.
that I can talk about because well, and that kind of leads me into really where I was kind of going with if you guys, I mean, we can continue talking about Robert Burns honestly, but like I've kind of gotten to the point now where like I know Monroe is going to be at some point. We're going to boot Robert Burns at some point.
Of
And
course.
so the thing about Change from Monroe, like I didn't feel comfortable like building an organization when it came clear that we were building an organization and not just like having a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And this all came. I may have touched on it real quick, but I'll just go back. We had our first meeting at East Frank. That's when I started bringing that up, and I met some really nice, like really good people there. And honestly, some of the people that I have, Kevin Daniels was, I think Kevin Payron,
Yep.
and maybe Ron too. I don't know, but he was there, and he really kind of gave me a new direction. It gave Change from Monroe a new direction because he's been involved in politics.
Yep.
He's been a campaign manager and things like that. And he's actually
been a candidate.
For certain seats, county commissioner, I believe. And so he's kind of been around it. And again, I'm telling you right now, I swing a hammer, and I knew I was angry, but I didn't know what to do with that anger. And he was able to kind of like redirect that entire group and bring a perspective to it that really it needed, because we were just a group of angry people kind of coming together and screaming at the sky. And he's seen that come through Monroe, or at least on Facebook pages before, and seen that kind of like, so specifically like the group SOS, which is like Save Our Students, I believe. They started out as like an a pro-masking group, right?
Yep.
And they had, everybody from the political spectrum on there. Anybody who, all you really had to do was just be pro-mask. That was the only thing. And that was the only requirement for you to like be in the group, really. But eventually, because masking became such a political football, it like that group really just kind of like devolved into just a fuck Trump group. It became like a bunch of, it was like Indivisible, which is a great group. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about him. It was like,
it's because Rom's wearing the shirt. That's why.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But it was like Indivisible, like SOS and like UCDP, like it was literally like a Venn diagram of those three things, was just like a perfect circle. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was the thing that like he had seen happen in the past, which is like these groups that come together that may have like disparate, let's just say belief systems within it, just kind of like devolve into just becoming like this narrow group again. You know what I mean? And like taking on the if you just want to call it left wing or Democrat or whatever identity, and like little by little, like all the centrists that weren't down for like the Trump bashing. It's not that they were Trump supporters, but they just kind of like were.
They believed in respectability politics.
Yeah,
So there's a
sure.
level of like we have to have that decorum. We can't be untoward. There's a certain level of like why are we getting in the muck? Why can't we just stay on the
Sure.
topic? And in reality, to your
Sure.
point, politics is more than that. I would say there's three functions within organizing. It's agitate, educate, and motivate. Right.
There
So
you go.
like
Yeah.
you guys brought together the agitation. Kevin was like, okay, now we got to
we have
educate.
that in spades.
And then now we got to motivate ourselves to become an actual political body. And that
Right.
is what is somebody, and a lot of folks, I think Ron was saying earlier, for Indivisible, like teaching people how to protest. Now, in our community, the Black community, it's been going on since we've been brought to these shores. We've been fighting against
Speaking
this
of
goddamn,
Monroe,
this
history,
whole
I mean,
right. So like this idea, it's deep in us. Now, some folks, it's very new to them, but
Yeah.
you gotta agitate. I mean, a lot of folks are
I've
agitated
never
about,
been to a protest before. Yeah. So
well, yeah, and that's your first time, and sometimes you might get agitated to go to a protest, and then when you
Right.
go there, you're reading the signs, you're talking to people, you're realizing like you're getting
Yeah.
educated not through an institution like a college. You're getting educated through life. You're getting educated through someone else's experiences. You're getting educated through your experience now, showing up, becoming more tapping into your own humanity. Now you're motivated, right? The third
Yeah.
step.
Yeah.
To actually wield your political power in a collective good. And like
Yeah.
that is what's important, I think, for what Change Monroe is bringing here. Because even out there, I say, as the Democratic Party, and this is why I'm to a degree, I'm kind of happy I'm moving on, because it's almost like it's a social club. Because there are
Sure.
certain
Well,
things
it's funny you bring
that
that up.
the party has to actually be willing to do from a
Yeah.
structural perspective. I mean, we just saw this week the name Democrat seems like it's starting to get synonymous with a possum, or someone playing dead, or that's what's getting synonymized with.
The James
So it's like
Caulfield method, right?
right, hello. So
Yeah.
now we're at a point where it's like, listen, if the party stands for this, or if the party's going to take this rightward shift to become the old Dixiecrats, let me tell you something: Black folks is out. We're
Oh, yeah,
done.
very
Okay, I
much
mean, like so, if y'all goal is to become the '90s
Yeah.
Republicans, to make
Yeah.
suburban white women feel comfortable and all that shit,
Right.
we're out, because we've always fought for the same thing, which is liberation for us, which equals
Yeah.
liberation for you.
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
change for Monroe, I think, is bringing that, it's harnessing that anger, because you got to have the anger, right? Because
Yeah.
respectability politics will tell you that having
Yeah.
anger is bad. You can't have anger because they'll say that we're radical and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, it's okay to have anger. That's one of the emotions you have.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the movie Inside Out.
Yeah.
That kid, there's all
Right.
types of emotions inside of you. It doesn't say
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't have anger. That's what, yeah,
These
you
are
need
tools.
anger.
Yeah. These
Right?
are
These are
tools.
tools, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, and so going back to Kevin's experience with other groups. So what he saw was a group that was singularly focused on the on like basically the unseating of Burns, right? And so we like very quickly just tried to make that our singular focus, and we didn't like start I had put up so many memes and like just funny stuff trying to get people involved and like rants on there, so on the Facebook page. And one thing that I had to do was just kind of clean that up a little bit and become singularly focused on Monroe. And so that is kind of our main focus right now. We do not I don't want to say trouble ourselves, but we do not like concentrate on anything that is outside of Monroe.
Right.
And mainly because honestly, we're a small group. We got no budget, and it's really hard for us to kind of like mobilize. Like it's hard for us to even like sell a few T-shirts or get 20 people to show up at a city council meeting. You know what I mean? And so honestly, we've had to really kind of like come to terms with who we are and what we're capable of, and we're not going to show up like Indivisible does and organize a protest somewhere, even in our own cities. Like that's not even possible.
And I think that's okay. And I think we the local
Yeah.
strategy is key at this point, because again,
Yeah.
the federal government is essentially decimated.
Right.
And just as we were talking about the Democrats and what Democrats stand for at a national level, is we have no idea. And so all we have is kind of, when I say local, I mean like hyper local.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and
that's our focus.
And what we've seen in the past, like 3 weeks of like people going to town halls and people going to city council meetings, and those are things that you've been doing for some time, and something that I hopped on as I was like, a few months ago. I was like, this could be effective, and then now everyone's doing those things. And I think if people have been doing that a little bit more, it brings a little more accountability, but more visibility. And then, Monroe, like if you're, at those meetings, then what's going on, and you could tell the community, hey, this is what happened at that meeting this week, and spread the word. And it's like, okay, that's not good. Or, if there's good things that are happening, spread those words as well. I don't really expect much good now from this council in terms of the miracles, but
you got to search for it. Yeah.
But I think it is, and we've talked about on our episodes, is it can't just be politicians going into the community, right before the election, but just actually community building. We have to take care of each other and our neighbors, right? And
yeah, dude, everything you're saying right now is exactly what we're trying to be in Change for Monroe. Like it really is, because so what we really want to do is so Kevin actually did a lot of the this legwork and made us into a super PAC. And he can actually tell you about all the troubles that he had, like at the the Board of Elections. Like these people didn't understand what the hell we were trying to do. Like they were like, he would go in with the paperwork and he's like, oh, so right now we're still personally, we're still trying to work out our messaging and stuff like that. So right now,
it's all right.
If I were to tell you like my elevator pitch, we are a bipartisan group who seeks to endorse and support candidates that promise to uphold human rights for all citizens of Monroe. That would be kind of my quick and easy description. Now what we're trying to do through that, and what I think that ultimately we're just trying to do something different. I don't want, we're not a Democrat group. We're not a right-wing group. We're not, or Republican group, whatever you want to call it. Because, and this is kind of I actually alluded to this to you in our, when we were talking previously before we started recording. The one thing that I don't want people to misconstrue us as is a bunch of people who are shifting rightward in order to, win back some of these centrist voters. Honestly, there's so if you think about concentric, or not necessarily concentric circles, but there
a Venn diagram.
Yeah, well, or for that matter, I mean, there's a bunch of different circles. Say, so you personally, Payron, I know you're about to leave UCDP, but if there's a group of people that you guys are if you want to, just use the phrase you guys are fishing from a certain pond, right? And there's a group of people that you guys can motivate with a certain message, and you can try and turn out that voter base, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you talk about that Venn diagram, those same people are the same people that you're going to motivate from Indivisible, or that SOS group we were talking about.
Right.
But I pointed out that 17% voter turnout from our election. There's an entire 83% of people who are, for whatever reason, are not motivated by the messages that we're giving them, either through Republican politics or Democratic politics, right? They're not being served by either the political parties or their representatives, right? So
now just real quick, because Ram and I discussed this a few episodes ago, specifically about the unaffiliated, or not saying these people are unaffiliated. I don't know what their persuasion is.
Citizen apathy. There's citizen apathy.
Sure, but I think it was, as we talk about what is politics, what are elections about? Elections are they're about resources, right? Do I want the resources to go equally to everybody, or do I want the resources to be kind of caterwauled into the hands of a few? That's essentially what we're discussing. Uh-oh, what's going on with the screen now?
All right.
Ron got something going
Get
on.
the wrong
I'm
click.
all over the place.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's what it's about. So, like, when I hear, because what I don't want, because I love the energy and the momentum and the kinetic ferocity that Change for Monroe is bringing to Monroe. But like when I hear that, like, because even over my past 2 years as chair, I heard this a lot, especially from like white liberals, like, oh, we got to reach the unaffiliated because I was unaffiliated and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, the reason why that doesn't make sense is because I know a girl who is 19 years old and she's unaffiliated. I also know a 75, and she's a black 17-year-old, is a black 19-year-old girl who is differently abled and she's unaffiliated. But I also know a 73-year-old white man who's unaffiliated. And let me tell you, those two people are wildly different while they're unaffiliated.
Of
So
course.
my point is,
Yeah.
if those are just two people, and we know there are more unaffiliated people in Union County than there are Republican or Democrat,
hmm
that is like 70,000 conversations that are individual.
Yeah.
And
No,
I love your
yeah.
guys' momentum. I don't want you
Yeah.
guys to basically waste your time to a degree,
No,
like
no.
trying
So,
to have a bunch of individual conversations. Like, well, I know you don't like this, but like the white
so
older
this is
guy,
not, you know, the
you know what I
strategy
mean?
is not really like to like knock on every door of every unaffiliated person. I understand the critique, and honestly, thank you for that because what you know what changed from Monroe. When I said earlier, we were talking about the Democratic Party becoming like a social group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, that's what we're trying to create.
Mm.
And it what so we got the Democrats and the Republicans. There's this like political spectrum that everybody kind of exists on, right?
Right. By force.
Yeah, I mean by force. Yeah, I mean everything's politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to exist under that. Like we don't even want to be considered like political in a certain to a certain degree anyway. Obviously,
Right.
at the end of all this, we're going to ask people to vote, so there is a political
No question.
element to it. I mean, there just is that way. But what we want to do is try and serve our community. We want to there are you guys have heard anecdotes, and I can provide one if I of like people needing like a street light outside of their house, and they like would petition their or they would at least ask their representatives, it'd be really nice if we could get a street light out here, and they would have to wade through like all this bureaucracy just to get to it. And they what the end goal of all that is, there's no reason for them to vote, right? And that's what creates, among other things, that's what creates like citizen apathy.
Right.
They're not connected to their community. They're probably not connected to their neighbors. And they don't really see a reason to even show up to vote. Why the fuck should they?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, like they don't have and 50% of houses in Monroe are rental properties, and some of these people don't even own their own home, much less like feel like they own their own city. You know what I mean? And like, so personally, I've grown up here, and like my entire identity is wrapped up in Monroe, and so I feel like I've got a certain amount of ownership that I would, I will. That's what gives me my fight, because I will like, if I lose Monroe, I lose a sense of like a part of myself.
Wow.
And you know what I mean? And like, so like my entire childhood is wrapped up in downtown Monroe.
But that's the fight that we're in, Steve. Steven, that's the fight that we're in. It's this idea that, we will force all of you all to have our identity.
Yeah.
And our identity is propped upon force, dominance, control, and a very myopic view that will ultimately harm ourselves. But we're so stupid, we don't know that. So like this idea of like, there's some people, they were, I don't ever believe the whole rhetoric about the idea that some people were misled by Donald Trump, or they were misled by Republicans. I don't believe that at all. I believe the Republicans traffic and cash in on the lowest and oldest sin of this country, which is, racism, sexism, homophobia, classism.
Absolutely.
And it's easy, and that's easy. Again, I said to you before we were recording, what Trump offers voters, specifically white voters, he offers you, like, if you're on the highway and someone cuts you off, and you're like, you're all angry. Trump's like, that's the best version of yourself.
Yes,
stay there. And that's easy, right? Because you don't have to say you have to read this book, you have to talk to these people, you have to go to this meeting, you have to unlearn what your grandfather told you was wrong, what your pastor told you was wrong. Trump's like, no, the anger and vitriol that you feel, go forward with that. And that's hard to counteract.
To make that person a better driver.
Exactly.
Get rid of him.
Well, I mean, because
You
like,
know?
what are they selling? They're selling because Republicans are knocking doors saying, "Hey, do you want to vote for us so we can cut your Social Security, cut your Medicare, so we can give tax
Yeah,
cuts to the rich?" That's hard
yeah,
to sell, but it's easy to
yeah.
sell. Hey, don't you hate boys playing in girls' sports?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah, of
Don't you
course.
hate that
Yeah,
black mermaid? Don't you hate the black
yeah.
Captain America? That is the
Right.
easy way to
Yeah,
sell it, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all.
Yes.
So no, go ahead, Ron. Yeah.
I was gonna kind of shift gears to let you finish your thought.
Oh yeah, sure. So again, like with what we're trying to do with Change from Monroe, man, is what uh, we are. We want to partner with like local nonprofits, like Hunger Walk, and Common Heart, you know, and just there's another place, a Council on Aging. We've actually built
Oh
ramps.
yes, yes.
We're putting together a landscaping crew right now that we're going to like,
Oh,
yeah. So I mean, so here, what I want to offer the citizens of Monroe and the people within Change from Monroe specifically, but more or less everybody. And we're going to be reaching out to a lot of people to do this. I want to offer people a way that we can interact with ourselves, doing good for our community, and 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 almost this again, it's almost impossible to do stuff like this, but we really have to attempt to do this in order to
mhm.
get to know our neighbors better. We have to kind of be able to leave some of this stuff that is like our divisive uh, 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 you know politics aside, just for a little bit, just for an hour, so that we can help this like old lady who is like almost wheelchair bound, just be able to get in and out of her house. You know what I
Could you
mean?
explain that, expand on that? I mean, I really understand. I'm agreeing with you, but I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we have to leave what behind to help
Oh,
what? To,
okay. So
like, yeah.
here very specifically, we had okay. So at the one of our wheelchair ramp bills that we did, one of our members in Change from Monroe, she's actually a board member, right? She hasn't spoken to her brother in like months,
Mm,
because they were fighting over literal like politics, and I think
mm,
specifically her stance on like Palestine, right? Her brother is he is I don't know for sure that he voted for Trump, but I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, but he's definitely right wing. I mean, and they came together for that 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever it was. He brought his kids, she brought hers. That's the first time that they've hung out together as a family in a long time, right? They came
hmm.
together, they helped this lady out. They had a good time. They were able to kind of like put everything aside and at least just like be together, just share each other's space, right? And at the end of that, she's told me that they've spoken now over the last little bit more than they have in months and years. You know what I mean? So,
I
and I'm
got
not
you.
saying that
Okay.
this guy's not probably going to vote for the person that we put up for city council. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
But
right.
those conversations can be had to where like we have a hopefully when we do these events, like again like we want to do we want to partner with like businesses downtown and just find out like on what nights are you like slowest, and we're going to fill that place with 20-25 people and just try and bring you some some revenue or something, you know what I mean? And we'll all just come in there as Change from Monroe. Everybody wears their shirts and we're just in there talking.
Hmm.
At that point, we're hopefully, hopefully again, we can try and put some of this down and just see each other as humans again. And I understand the pushback of you know, I, ignoring our differences is like one of these like tactics that some people try to do when they're trying to um, I don't know, like soften the edges of like people on the extremes. You know what I mean? And trying, and that's where a lot of people like are. It's almost like we're rushing to the center in order to like appease a certain part of the electorate.
That's right.
Honestly, I don't really care how these people voted. I just want them to come together and just like be able to share space with each other and like and talk to each other and just so we can kind of like put down those swords and just really just kind of just see each other as people again.
Yeah, like
And this is not gonna. I don't expect this to be some kind of like revolution of love or something like that. But it
so
definitely, But I'm
yeah.
trying to provide space for people that we can at least like just
So
just have conversations. Like you were talking about the football the other day. Like, yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was gonna say, so what, I mean, one of the things I wanted to point out is because to
Yeah.
your point is like, and it doesn't really matter how people vote, but I was looking to like demographics and stuff today, and it's a diverse city, Monroe, right? And currently there's something going on within the city. Well, what's going on in the country is anti DEI, but now it's reached Monroe. Where the city of Monroe's diversity, equity, inclusion committee is at risk of being dissolved. It's set to dissolve on 2 days, which is the next city council meeting, and which doesn't really make sense in a city that's diverse. And so it's just it's when you say diversity, equity, inclusion, it's like, well, what's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with trying to bring your neighbors together, whether they're white, black, Hispanic, whatever, and to make sure that they're included into these things. And the other thing that's going on this week is maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, but the drag, and they want to turn drag into drag shows into adult entertainment here. And so, it just seems like like these are things are like distractions, right? They're focused again on these social, culture war issues, as opposed to the issues that actually matter to Monroe folks. So like for us that are, hyper involved, we want to protect the most vulnerable in the community, and things like that. But they're focused on these things, and then I feel like we are stepping up and stepping in and saying like, you're not going to come after these people, leave them alone. But then that's kind of where they've been able to focus the energy and a lot of the what's being talked about. And so how do we like combat that, especially in this day and age where this is happening at every level.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's I don't pretend to have some sort of remedy for this, and it's unfortunate, man, because a lot of my like disagreements that I've had with folks that let's just say I see eye to eye with politically, some of this can look like capitulation when we just say the dissolution of the DEI committee is just inevitable. It just but and trying to mitigate the damage that we can do is probably where we need to be focusing. And again, in my ideal world, or my ideal version of Change for Monroe, what I would like to see is a group come together and become enough of a cohesive unit where we can mitigate some of this damage. I was at the DEI meeting the other night. I actually crashed the meeting. I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to be there, but I just showed up because it was on there and I wanted to hear what they had to say. But my comment to them was like, this is obviously coming down the pike. Let's stave this off as much as we can. But you people are part of this group, right? You obviously have a vested interest in this. If not the committee itself, the principles that it stands for, right? Mm-hmm. So what can we do as citizens to come together and try to model this behavior within our community ourselves? Like, how can we take this on and somehow pick up this torch and just show people that we still care about them, at least, if nothing else. And I got some people that were kind of like nodding their head, but what I was looking for was somebody to say, "Hell yeah, me." Yeah. And I didn't really get that from anybody. I put it on our Facebook page to like say, "Hey, this is if we're going to do this, like if we're going to come together as citizens, and this is important to us, like the DEI itself." Or the committee, not even necessarily the committee itself, but the principles of DEI. Yeah. If this is important to us, the federal government is cutting this. It's just a done deal. We all know this. Like the writing is on the wall, and there ain't a whole lot we're going to be able to do about this. And that is a hard fact that we're just going to have to swallow. What are we going to do now?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think you're right in terms of like the principles, and I think organizations like change Monroe, if you're
Yeah.
committed to, you don't have to say DEI but if you're committed to
No, yeah,
diversity, equity, inclusion, the principles of that,
yeah,
I think that those things will happen organically within the community. Because I've always said, I mean, I saw DEI early on when it first started that it was going away, but I do think that
yeah,
there are things that are in place. There's infrastructure, there's people in place that will carry those things through, and especially from the government standpoint versus like a private corporation. A private corporation is more of a choice,
mm,
whereas these governments are literally being threatened to lose millions of dollars of
of
funding
course.
just because they
Yeah,
have the word female in the charter or whatever it may be,
yeah,
and and so I don't think there's a lot in like if you lose funding for a $5 million project or whatever it may be,
hmm,
uh if you have to take DEI out, well, how do you carry that? And I know like the mayor of Monroe has no commitment to that, right? But there are people on the
oh, you can
council.
give a shit.
There are people on the council. There's people in the community, and I think those
Yeah,
things will happen organically if people are committed to it. But I do think, yeah,
yeah,
like there has to be put an effort. You can't just say, "Oh, it's going to happen." But if that's
no,
truly what the core mission of your organization is, whether it's racial diversity, gender diversity, whatever it may be, I think those
hmm,
things will continue to happen. And organizations, I think, like yours, can be again, almost like a blueprint for other cities
one
and
would
things
hope.
like that.
And again, like like I, again, I'm kind of at a loss for kind of like, how to make something like that happen. Again, like I don't want to call myself uneducated, but I'm definitely like I don't have any like higher education when it comes to like you to even organizing people. It's like I'm still like learning as I go right now, and I'm like we're going
Right.
to make a ton of mistakes, and hopefully our people will give us a lot of grace there. But
Let me
the
ask you something. When you grew up, you
yeah,
said you're
sure.
from Monroe. Did you have to unlearn prejudices as you
Oh
grew
yeah.
up?
So good question, man. I've like a lot of people, I've done a little bit about like ancestry.com and stuff like that, and one thing that like over the years, one thing that kind of opened my eyes up. Uh, well, let me take a step back actually. Um, Growing up, like I've always been like kind of in mixed race communities, right? There were projects with you're probably within 3 or 4 of them within walking distance of my house, and a lot of my like good friends from school lived in these areas, and we would always just be around. Like I've probably been on my bike in like literally every street in this town, up until the point that I was like probably 15, 16 years old and finally got my license. Monroe High School and Monroe Middle and all that, we've always been like kind of like 50-50 black white, right? At this point, Monroe High, I believe, is like 50-50 like black and Latino, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a couple, percentage points in there that are probably still white, but it's like sparse. Like Monroe is the blueprint for like white flight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is like I think we had like 5 high schools when I was growing up. The county itself, we just, because we were growing so fast, we just had so many high schools, and there were just more opportunities for people to kind of like get out of Monroe because they just like the school, wasn't great for them or something like that. I try not to, attribute malice to people when, maybe something else was part of it, but we all know. And it really, it hurts me uh, to know that like Monroe, as diverse as you just showed it right there, like it's not really reflected in every single aspect of like Monroe proper. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, I growing up, man, I had like a white best friend and a black best friend, and I couldn't understand why my white best friend couldn't come play with me with my black best friend. You know what I mean? Like that at like probably 10 years old, like I just couldn't understand that because I really like I didn't grow up in like a racist household or anything like that. My mom was, she's old timey and she probably had some reservations and things like that, but she's a lovely woman and raised us the best way she could. She was a single mother and for the longest time, but so there were, if you want to call it, like, touch points throughout my growing up, that race was kind of like brought to my attention, really. But it was, and learning about Monroe's history, for that matter, too, really kind of like did a lot of eye opening for me. Um, but but it really, it wasn't like stark, like, some people may feel it, like I had to kind of like trust my Black friends, and just kind of like understand what they were kind of going through. I like, I guess it's not really cliche, but it is like, Black father has to have the talk with their Black sons. You know what I mean? Like, I've never really, had to, I've never had, like, been, faced with racism in that way. I just, always kind of like felt out there somewhere. And then, when I learned the history of Monroe, it was like, oh shit, this happened here. You know what I mean? Like, when I learned about like the Freedom Riders and all, like, like all that, I was like, holy shit.
James
Like,
Baldwin came through here.
oh my God. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like, to learn about all that is like,
one of the hidden figures is from here.
yeah. I mean, I forget her name right off. I should have that, but she's like the science museum.
The name of the science center is after her. Yep.
Yeah, she's named. Yeah. So I mean, like Monroe's history.
Catherine Darton, right? Or yeah.
Is that what? Yeah. So so yeah, like when you start, like, yeah, again, history always kind of feels like it's happening, or in some other places, right?
And that's intentional, though. That's the structural shit we're talking about.
Of course,
it's intentionally meant to feel so far out, far afield. It's like, this isn't what's happening to you. We're going to center your feelings, but to your point, your Black friend was like, motherfucker, I know what it's like out here. Like, no one's centered. No one gives a shit that I don't feel good, and that's what we're all combating. So like, and I don't mean to cut you off, but like, as we're talking about all the DEI stuff, I think that there's, you got to be honest about what we're fighting through and what is going on. Is that there are people that are liberals and progressives. They too, I tell all of it when I talk to our white compatriots, is that all of us are awash of white supremacy. If you went through this, if you went through this education system, if you watch movies and film, as we talked earlier, people get the sense of themselves through not just books and text and news, but through everything else, through the media, through entertainment, through your friend group, through where you can go from where you can't go, through the radio. So if you went through all of that, and you didn't pick up a single book, you didn't read anything else besides what was put in front of your eyes, was soaked into your brain, you too are awash of white supremacy. So when I tell white folks, when I say, hey, Karen, if I haven't arrived, you haven't arrived, right? Like, I'm still still learning about my people. I'm still learning about this country, and that's what they want to separate from us. And to a degree, this whole idea of like we're I don't mean to go back to Mary Burns, but like how he was doing the whole anti-LGBTQ thing. It's the same theory of like the nigger lover theory. And what I mean by the nigger lover theory is that, like, what they do is they'll pass a raft of bills against a certain group of people, a certain minority, and then the exact minute you step up and be like, hey, don't do that. Oh, are you a nigger lover then? And it's like, hey, man, and then people, they're afraid of that, and then they back off even more. So it's happening right now, where it's like, well, hey, don't get rid of DEI. Are you woke? Are you a mother woker? It's like, hey, no, I'm not a mother woker. What I'm saying is that you're hurting the LGBTQ people. Oh, are you a groomer? It's the same sort of a mentality.
It is. So exactly.
So it's easy. We talked earlier about hypernormalization. It's easier to go along with the flow when a moniker like pedophile or groomer is put on you, and all you're doing is just saying, these are American citizens like you are, and they deserve to get the exact same rights and protection under the U.S. Constitution that you have. But we're having a conversation about morality and all that other shit. Now we're on their turf. Now we're talking, and we're going to lose that battle 9 out of 9 times. But what I'm saying is, like, people deserve the same rights, protections, and privileges under the U.S. Constitution that the most mediocre white dude has. And if we can't have that conversation because we don't want to be called, the N-word lover, the groomer, was it Anderson Clayton? She's doing illegal stuff because she's telling people to know their rights. That is the asymmetry of white supremacy. That's the point of DEI, because DEI is meant to replace the GOB. The good old boys club. That is the whole point of it.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, because this is what we're talking. We keep talking about, and we know people within the community being attacked, for just being right. and living their life. And we, it's like, and kind of going back to like, what is the Democrats' message? Because it's, to me, it just seems so simple, right? Just like human, like just being a human with humanity. And if you
Yeah.
just live your life, if it's not hurting other people, then like that's all there is to it. Like really, that's literally all there is to it. Like if you don't believe in
Yeah,
abortion,
but they can make
don't get an
up.
abortion. You
Yeah.
don't want to, don't be like trans. Like you don't want
Yeah.
to be gay. Then don't be like, you don't like. I don't. It isn't. It's mind blowing to me. And especially where we're at. This is 2025. So like
Yeah.
I know America's evolved in my lifetime, because I remember when the anti-gay was like, that was huge. You couldn't get married. You couldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember when, when you couldn't, a black person wasn't a full person, right?
Yeah.
So, and so much other stuff. So this country's has evolved, but now we're at a point where it's like, everything is, we're regressing backwards. And it's, there's got to be people that have to have this conversation, especially now. What we're going through right now is like, okay, you can't deny it and ignore it.
Right.
And
Right.
we have to face this like head on, of like, let's
Head on.
address and we got to be uncomfortable. We got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Learn that from
Yeah.
like that line. And then have these conversations is use a white man, Aaron, me, black man, Mexican, Hispanic, like Mexican American.
Ron don't
like,
know what it is. He always gets all befuddled when he talks about, I'm black, I'm white.
yeah, but like American, like we're just American, but like have these conversations, like right, and because it shouldn't be like some like stigma. It shouldn't be something we're scared to have these conversations. And if you're scared to have them because you're a bigot, then like fine, I don't want to talk to you, but I'm not going to try to court you. Why should we?
I'm not going to waste my time with those.
Why are we going to try to keep courting bigots? Like, like why?
And that's the thing about Change from Monroe is like, we are trying to reach people who are, as of yet unreachable. But there are a certain segment of population, just to be honest, like they are. I mean, I don't like using this language, but like they're just trash human beings at this point, man. Like they are, if like point being is like, if you're voting for Robert Burns, I'm not going to waste a second trying to convince you that human rights are a thing that everybody needs to have. You know what I'm saying? Like or for that matter too, on the flip side of that, if you're already in the UCDP and you're voting, the way that I probably feel like you should, also too, like I'm not going to try and make you or like I'm not going to try and convince you. Or if you're part of like that 14% or 17% that already showed up to vote, like there's no reason for me to do that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm also wasting my time with you, where I can go out and try and make inroads into, like, again, that citizen apathy that I was kind of referring to earlier. So I was kind of going somewhere with that, and I totally lost my track of thought.
It's all right.
I have the same theory, similar theory.
No, I mean, because like that's what we have to do. But I think the real elephant in the room, no pun intended for Republicans, which none of us are Republicans. I'm just saying, but we're talking about politics. But no, is that there are people who are on the ostensible left that also, again, I said earlier, that are still upholding white supremacy. They still do believe in, I think this DEI stuff has gone too far. I think this woke stuff, I'm not that woke. I've heard, so like there's a level of like people are still having to this is why I tell white folks that all of us are awash of white supremacy, because then it kind of it disarms them. Now, I'm not saying you're a white supremacist, but I'm saying it's like, again, we all have to actively accept it, because if you can't accept something, you can't resist something. And I think as a nation, we are not accepting that. Hey, I might believe that I think only white men should be in positions of power. I might believe that the black people are prone to criminality. I might believe that people of Latin descent are all illegal human beings. Like that's what we're trying to leap over to try to get to. Like we're all going to vote together. But again, I'm going to use the Democratic Party for an example. That again, we aren't one group of people. There are a bunch of communities that vote in different ways. Now, some of those communities are closer to the cliff than others. So then the folks who aren't as close to the cliff, they're going to say, I don't see why we have to move that fast. While some folks are like, hey, I'm about to fall off this goddamn cliff, and if you aren't ready to pull me up or work together, then I cannot say that we are actively working together. So as we're talking about political things and policy things, I believe any person that wants to be a political leader who does not want to talk about cultural things, that only wants to talk about policy things, does not want to talk about politics. because those two things go together, right? You can't just be like,
Sure.
well, I'm only going to talk about, HB 4569, but I'm not going to talk about what's happening to black people on the street and how they're feeling about seeing jackhammers to, drill up the Black Lives Matter Plaza and what that means to how we feel, or I'm not going to talk about how trans people are going to feel when Kid Rock takes an AR-15 and shoots up a bunch of Bud Light, because we know
Right.
that violence usually means I want to do this to those people. So anytime you see somebody punch a picture or drill something up or shoot someone with a gun, the folks who are on the other side of that know you want to do that to us. So like, if we're not going to address that, plus there's a raft of policy and legislation across the country against those people to lose their personhood, and we're just saying all we're going to talk about is X45349, we're missing the moment.
Yeah. Well, let me just, since you bring up like specifics and things like that, like as far as like policies go and things, I will say that, okay, so name, let's say name any specific, let's just say like party platform that either, it doesn't matter who it is, because usually they're like, it's a dichotomous type of stance. Like name any of them. Like, so say you wanted to bring in like abortion, you know what I'm saying? Like, is abortion an important topic to discuss? Absolutely. Never going to deny that. And it doesn't matter what side of it you're on, you probably come to it, for very principled reasons. Let's just give them, the credit, or give them, their grace, and assume that they're coming to it for the best of intentions. The thing that Change for Monroe is trying to do, though, is say, we can't affect that here in Monroe. And as much as we need to, as individuals, like have like an educated opinion about that thing, we personally can't affect that in Monroe as Change for Monroe, as citizens from Monroe in Monroe. You see what I'm saying? And so what we as a group, because we are, so small and trying to be, singularly focused as far as like community building, we are trying to, concentrate on the things that we do have the power to control here. So like the DEI commission, and like trying to make sure that it like, lives out its fullest life that it possibly can until its inevitable resolution. We can go petition our city council and talk to them about, hey, let's see if we can pass that torch somehow and do that locally, and see if we can, as a community, come together and kind of do that. But again, it's like, there are, or for that matter, like, you brought up, Rom, you brought up the anti-drag bill, right? They're having that vote coming up, right? Honestly, that vote is symbolic here in Monroe, really. I mean, if we want to be truthful about it, what they're trying to do is add it to the party platform within UNC or Union GOP, and then try
it goes up, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And so this is a symbolic vote, in order to make those.
It has purchase. Look at what's going on in the 8th largest county. They're doing it, so let's do it at the state level. Let's do it at the north. It moves up, right?
But this is a political tactic by Burns and his people in order to make those people on the city council, who are his opposition, let's be honest, like they've censured him, they pushed back on all his bullshit up to this point. He sees them as the opposition. He's got another raft of city council members that he's trying to get elected, right? And so he wants to put them on record and say, these people hate children. These people want to do harm to children because they don't want to pick up this red herring of a memo that we want to adopt, right? And it's like, if you read through it, holy shit, man! Like they want to make, I don't even think they reference drag in the memo. I want to say that they reference male and female impersonators. Fuck, what does that even mean?
Like Eddie Murphy and Dr. Doolittle. What's that movie he was in? The Clumps.
Big
what was that
Mama's,
movie?
Big Mama's House.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like, is that it's like Tyler Perry.
Think about the theater downtown. If a dude shows up on stage in a feminized costume because theater,
right?
Is that dude in a public place being a female impersonator? Is he going to be arrested?
Yes.
If I
The
choose
power.
to, I used to like, so I don't mind saying, I've got children who are part of the queer community, right?
Mhm.
And this is I used to like paint my finger, and I still do it every once in a while. I'll paint my fingernails black in order to like, show solidarity with them. And I
Right.
tell some people like, a lady at Lowe's the other day asked me, she was like, why do you paint your fingernails black? And I was like, because this is what I want my fist to look like when I'm fighting for my children.
There
And
you
like,
go.
so that's what motivates me to do stuff like that. So when I paint my fingernails for my kid, is that female impersonation? If a dude with long hair is walking down the street,
But all this shit is built around like a certain perspective of what masculine and feminine. It's this very narrow
oh, very much
binary
so.
understanding. So like even that is like, is that what men did? It's like, I don't know, 100 years ago, or
Yeah.
actually 500 years ago when Shakespeare,
High heels.
when Shakespeare created theater, men
Yeah.
did all the roles,
Mhm.
including
Of
all.
course.
So
Yeah.
so was that drag? So it's
No,
like,
but they have to. It's like you say with like a lot of this white supremacy stuff. They have to. Rewrite history. Literally
have
ignore
to.
it and then rewrite history. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so again, like there's a long history of just and they'll justify it within that memo if you go and read it, which I really recommend everybody do because it's total horseshit.
Right.
And there's a certain like whereas line where they literally talk about, I forget exactly what it is. I should have wrote it down, but it's like basically it's a sexual arousal that men get by dressing up as women, and there's a clinical term for that. And so they say that any man dressing up as a woman is doing that to be sexually aroused. And so any instance of a man dressing up as a woman is therefore harmful to children. Going back to what Ram said earlier about, just trying to be humans and understand that like, we're not out here trying to hurt people. No, they are telling you that you're trying to hurt me just with your presence.
And how does that fill the potholes? How does that make the buses run on time? How does that make your dollar go further this year than did last year?
That is perfect.
That's the whole point, is that like
Yes.
we have no future vision ideas. And I think in our last episode I said,
Yeah.
we do them a service by calling them conservatives. When
Yeah,
we say
never. I never
we-
call them conservatives.
right, like when folks say progressive, the opposite of progressive is conservative. No, the opposite of progressive to move forward is regressive, to go backwards. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what they are. They are regressive people, and they don't know how to have any future fights. So all the fights they know how to have are the ones from back in the 50s and the 70s and the 80s. Those are the only fights they know how to have. So
I
they're
don't even
doing the
think those
same old
fights
hits.
were then. Like these are fights from like I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been a rich history of like fascist movements that have like demonized these people and
Absolutely.
use them as a
Right.
reason to crack
Right.
down on people. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But even back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, like there was no real movement to like make women not wear pants
Mhm.
or like you know what I mean? Like it just
So
to me, there's like this is so vague and unenforceable as to be nonsensical. But again, that's not the point.
Right.
So they're
The point is, like you said, Rom, if you go to defense for these people, you are also a pedophile.
right.
Right.
And so
You are damaging children, and that's it. Sorry, I get a little testy with that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So this Tuesday at the Monroe City Council meeting, this group, Protect Monroe, is planning to have a showing where they're, going to be vocal about, making drag, adult entertainment.
Yeah.
And I plan to speak. I've already planned to speak at this meeting. I have other topics more so about just his Twitter in general.
You may not get a chance.
We'll see. But
not for lack of trying.
But like, I don't think it should be like engaging in like if I were or anybody who's not on the side of Protect Monroe, engaging in the details of it. But like, why are we talking about this stuff? Because like, how many drag shows are we really talking? One, two, it's like, again, we just got through talking about like, well, how does this affect like the things that are actually like in the city that affect our pocketbooks, that affect our daily lives, that affect like I honestly, like, I wouldn't even know like I would have to search for a drag show. If that was my thing, I would have to search for it and find it and go to it.
Yep.
Like, so it's like this issue that they're trying to, again, create these cultural wars, create this division, and shift the focus there when it's really not important in the whole scheme of things.
Well, let's be honest about why they're doing it real quick, and this will kind of tie everything in a bit of a bow for Change from Monroe. Again, Burns came in on this with this raft of, honestly, it's policies that I told him to his face. I was like, man, you don't belong here. And I didn't mean that as like him personally.
Where's he from? Where's he from originally?
I want to say that he grew up in Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
He literally moved here, had never spent a night here before he won the election, and then bought a house after he won. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Bought a house in Monroe. I'm
like, what?
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. And then he was like, oh, I love my city. Fuck off.
Oh,
Fuck
wow.
off. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
He is a graduate of like that Trump lingo. Like he is totally like, it's just, anyway, I won't get into it. But point being is that, he came in spouting talking points. Not only were they just false and salacious, but they're not based on anything that's going to be good for like the citizens of Monroe, other than, like you say, driving that hate and making sure that you hate that person in the car ahead of you, or like just do that. And what Change from Monroe really wants to do is to try and redirect. We have to have something other than these like salacious, like hot button topics that really, honestly, we can't affect here in Monroe.
But the problem is that he's putting them out there. It's not the lowly people talking about that. Yeah. Him and Trump. They're playing on the deep-seated hatred that have existed before all of us have been alive. Yeah. So that's the problem. It's like people aren't talking about that. Like, yeah, I know, folks. I'm trying to pay my rent, pay my mortgage, pay my car note. They then drop on your lap a bill about trans people or drag shows or DEI, and now it's a political issue. Then they're saying, where are you at on that? And now people are forced to have that conversation. And then I think to a degree, this whole idea of like, let's now change it and talk about something else. It's like, well, yeah, man, some folks, like, they only know what's put in front of them. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I totally get it. And that's what, like, so that's why, we are trying to, you talk about like being forced to have that conversation. We are trying to force another conversation. We are trying to, like, my message to the next council member was like, going to be, hey, look at this chaos. Aren't you sick of this chaos? And every one of those city council members have told me personally that they are sick of this chaos. And all I got to do is convince enough citizens that are sick of that chaos too, to make sure that they just show up at the next municipal election. And that brings me back to like when the thing that I want to concentrate Change from Monroe on, obviously I want to like try and do the community cohesion and all the volunteer stuff, yada yada yada. I want to like bring people together and try and find common ground, yada yada yada. Got it. We need to make them show up and vote. The federal elections that happen, every 4 years, 75% of registered, citizens showed up to vote. Again, 17% showed up in 2 years on the municipal elections. That's where we concentrate.
Yeah.
And that's where we make our inroads, and we try to make it impossible for people like Robert Burns, an ideologue with nothing to offer Monroe, absolutely shit to offer Monroe, impossible to come in. Because he can't come in and say, what about these damn drag queens? And they're like, well, what is that? How's that going to fill potholes, Payron? You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you before I even heard of Change of Monroe and met you. I was looking at this and I was like, wait, 900 votes. Monroe's the second biggest city in Union County. And you got this guy, this MAGA cheerleader, and
Yeah,
that he has no qualifications. And if he wants to get a
it's
job
heartbreaking.
with Trump, hey, he's probably qualified for the Trump White House, but go do it somewhere else, right? Like
He was counting on that, man. That's why he was like courting Mark Robinson. I've got pictures of Mark Robinson.
That was his boy.
Oh,
Mark Robinson was his boy.
He's still that's
No,
his
listen,
boy.
I'm not a
Black Nazi
racist.
Mark
Look, I got
Robinson,
Mark
right?
Robinson here.
Yeah, Black Nazi Mark Robinson, right, was down at our constitutional, Constitution monument down there, looking at the fucking 13th Amendment. Like they were both
Got to get rid of these Negro amendments.
Pointing at the civil rights amendments. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know. Oh, yeah.
The civil rights amendment, and Black Nazi is like, and wants to bring back slavery, is looking at the civil rights amendments.
Side note, Mark Robinson.
Over it, like
side note,
we're studying it.
Mark Robinson is a fantastic example, and so is Herschel Walker. So is all the other folks. It proves Black republicanism does not have a retirement plan. Like once they're done with you, that's it. There is no next election. There is no next time. That's it. Because Mark Robinson is through.
Where is he now?
Else. Right, exactly. Probably at Nude Africa doing some stuff. But brother, no, it has been good. Just before you go, what is the next step for Change for Monroe? I know, just not like the next thing you're doing, but like what's the next vision? What do you guys need help with? And how can folks reach out to you?
Well, obviously, it's going to be vote out or a voter turnout thing. So, I mean, and that's, so full disclosure, we've had a little bit of like shakeups in the board, right? So we constantly, So
it just happened to me at the UCDP, brother. So hey, I'm
dude,
with you.
I heard your story about like showing up and like people want to show up and have coffee and shit and like never really get anything done. That's not really what we're having. We're really, so part of our trouble is, and I can tell. So our message is is pretty atypical, right? It's not like I can tune into y'all's podcast, and I do very often, and like I am nodding my head at everything you guys are saying. I promise you. And you guys are like
checks in the mail, brother. Checks in the mail.
Yeah, that's right. And you guys are motivating a certain type of citizen, right? We are like doing the impossible job of trying to motivate just a different type of citizen. We're just fishing from different ponds, right?
That's right.
And so voter turnout in municipal elections every 4 years. Like everybody wants to concentrate on like turning out everybody in the federal elections. I want to do the opposite. I want to turn out when nobody else is turning people out. And that way 970 fucking votes does not win that son of a bitch mayoral election anymore. And we as a community through education, we're going to start our own podcast soon. You guys are welcome to join.
Oh yeah, I'm on there, baby.
So I want to through education, through history of Monroe. Like I've got other topics I want to talk about. One thing that I want to talk about is like health and wellness and trying to combat some of this like dude bro mentality and gym culture and shit like that. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And like, so that's the type of thing that I want to do, like, and really just kind of speak to people throughout the community, and hopefully we can garner enough support. All we need, honestly, man, is like 500 people within our group. I mean, you consider, and we're like 250 people, depending on where we're at right now. I haven't really checked in the last little bit. If we can get a critical mass of people to at least, all we got to do is be able to show that. I just need to be able to show that Facebook page to one of our council members and say, these people right here, vote the way I say that we're going to vote. And as long
you
as
you need to get to 971. You get to 971 people in that Facebook group. You got it.
All I got to know, I don't even need all the votes. I just need to be able to guarantee that council member a third of those votes. Really, I mean, like, or the more the merrier. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I'd love to have 2,000 people in that group, and we can. I mean, I don't want to I'm not going to be some I don't want to be like the Godfather of Monroe or anything like that. But still,
I like it. Not a bad title. It would be cool is to see Change Monroe grow to an organization to where your endorsement matters, right? Change Monroe.
It
has endorsed.
We're already there, really.
I'm talking about, well, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
But what I would really like to see, Rom, like this is just a, what I would really like to see is voter turnout, group Payron's voter turnout group in Waxhaw, doing the same, type of thing with you guys. Rom's doing that in Matthews, and it's nothing that we're doing anything other than just like, assembling a voter base that cares about local issues. Like we're not, again, right. I'm not going to debate abortion with a guy. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to waste my time doing it because honestly, it's just, it's just useless at this section. And again, going back to where does our power lie right now, right? We don't have the Supreme Court, right? The presidency is gone, right? The, Congress is gone, right? Our state house is gone, right? We got the governorship and the AG and they've been neutered more or less. Mm-hmm, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So where's our power?
Yeah.
With the people. It's always with the people.
It's always with the people.
No matter what happens with all that shit, it's always with the people. It don't matter. So all these systems don't matter. It's always with the people, man.
That's where I feel like so when the Republicans lost during the Obama years, when they were like demoralized, and we thought that we had a majority from now until
forever. Yeah.
What did Republicans do? Right? They turned inward and they went to every single small election they could possibly win. School board, fucking dog catcher. They went back to the people and they gained that momentum and they turned into the Tea Party, which was like just a bunch of embarrassed Republicans, really. Mm-hmm. And they created a movement through that. And now Trump is the culmination of that movement. He is their golem that they created in order to like come and smash our democracy to bits, right?
You're right, bro.
We're in a 30-year fight right now, guys.
I always say that, folks who aren't paying attention, it's like the guy who's in the 100-year war, but he's in year 3, and he's like, man, I can't believe this war's been going on for 3 years. It's like, dude, we got
this is the fight of our lifetime, guys.
You don't even know how much more you got left, So and I think about folks like John Lewis. I think about folks like Al Green. These are people that they have fought the fights. They have fought the fights. And they did not see the world that they were fighting for, but they fought for it nonetheless. And in this new book that I'm reading called "We Refuse," and I'll let you go. There's a quote in there that said that it's better to know where you want to go, but not know how to get there, rather than not know where you're going, but know how to get there. And I think what you're doing, you said you're making mistakes, brother. I made mistakes as the chair. I realize now. I know where I want to go. Of course, it's always liberation for all people, but specifically Black people. But if we get free, that means you're free. So the idea is like, I know where I want to get to, and I'm trying new things, and that's okay. We can't beat up on ourselves. Perfection is a myth. Normalcy is a myth. All that matters is the human resolve, and we will fight for that. So, Stephen, I appreciate you for coming on, my man. We wish all the luck to Change from Monroe. I know I'm see you out there in the streets, brother.
Of course, yeah. Can I leave you guys with a quote real quick?
Yeah, go what you got, man. Drop it on us. I love a good quote.
Yeah. Civil rights. I actually did this at the last meeting, and so Rom, real quick. To be honest, when you saw me, did you think that what I said was going to come out of my mouth?
Well, Meg gave me the heads up, so I knew.
Oh, did she?
She told me who you were. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Next time, wear a MAGA hat.
Well,
but I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying.
I gotta
that's a very liberal hat. Like only liberals wear those hats.
So I got to distinguish myself from my other my rednecks, my brethren, in some way. So. Change from Monroe, this will give you a little bit of idea of I was always looking for a bit of guidance, really, and I needed a North Star to really kind of give us focus, really. Mm-hmm. And I, a long time ago, a few years back or whatever, I listened to podcasts all the time, and I heard on a podcast, I literally can't even remember the name of it anymore. It was probably some kind of Buddhist-y podcast or something like that I was listening to. And I heard a quote from a person, and I didn't even remember their name. And it was, but what stuck with me was drawing bigger circles, right? And this is the main, I don't want to call it a guideline, but the main tactic maybe that I'm trying to implement within Change from Monroe. And this came from a quote from, when I finally after I was looking for, this quote, I came across Paulie Murray. You guys know who Paulie Murray is?
The great Paulie Murray, yes.
Okay, so look, I didn't know who Paulie Murray was. Mm-hmm. And that's another.
I just learned the Paulie Murray 5 years ago, so it's okay.
Well, so I don't feel so bad about it. But you want to talk about a deficit in our education?
That's
the
right.
fact that we all don't know who
Paulie
Murray is.
It's a goddamn
shame. She sat on the bus 15 years before Rosa Parks did.
That's right.
Sat at the front of the bus. And not only that, but look her up. Whoever
was the lawyer that helped create all the litigation for Brown versus Board of Education that handed it to Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they were probably the first non-binary person
right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the quote that I want to leave you guys with, and this is my guiding light right now. And I just so it's I intend to destroy segregation by positive and embracing methods. When my brothers try to draw a circle to exclude me, I shall draw a larger circle to include them. Where they speak out for the privileges of a puny group, I shall shout for the rights of all mankind. That to me is where I like. So drawing bigger circles. That's going to be the name of our podcast, by the way.
Oh, you hear it here first. You heard it here first, folks.
So the idea of drawing bigger circles, yeah, is such a simplistic and self-explanatory idea, but man, like think about how hard that is for a guy like me or a guy like you, Peyron or Ram, to try to include the people who want to exclude you. You know what I mean? Like think about like such a hard task that is, and the humility and the vulnerability you have to do. But honestly, man, that's where we are in this social climate that we are right now. We got to start from ground zero. We really do. I love it. And like, because we've lost so much through apathy, through complacence, through inaction, all this other shit, man. We've let so much momentum go. We're back down to ground zero, and we got to start drawing those circles, man.
If not us, then who? If not now, then when? Folks, Steven Stegall, thank you so much for coming on the show on the Radicals podcast. We cannot wait to come on. Drawing Bigger Circles. That's the name, correct?
Soon.
I love it.
All right. We're going to be up on there, baby.
Monroe.com. Go look us up on Facebook. We want to, again, we got to get to that critical mass, people.
Please go like, share, follow Change for Monroe on all platforms. Steven Stegall, thank you so much, brother. And folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And we will see you on the next one.